How are we doing, guys? And welcome to the I'll Try That podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about Freedom Brewery. And in the hot topic, we're going to be combining eggs and beer, which doesn't sound that great personally, but I'm sure it will be fine. But first, let's have a bit of a chat, shall we?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Well, I thought something a bit different for this week. So I am a big fan of Bob Mortimer, the comedian. And he is well known for some of his quick wit, his telling of stories, but he has a whole list of jokes from what he calls his joke book, which I wanted to read a few out to you. And I hope I'm going to absolutely butcher a lot of these, I'm sure, because he is the Bob Mortimer. But I wanted to share and bring some joy because these always give me a lot of fun. So bear with me on this one, all right? All of these are just jokes.
I'm just going to put this out there, right? I'm going to rate you on this, Joe.
Okay.
So there's a lot of pressure now on your shoulders to get this 100% amazing.
Okay. I'll try not to laugh through these as well.
Don't read the joke and laugh at it without telling us the joke.
Otherwise, this whole bit is useless. If you're just going to laugh the whole way through.
Through the magic and power of editing, we can make me seem really funny, so that's fine. I just need to get through telling the joke. I need to set it up and then punchline. There you go. Right.
Yeah, you've got this. Okay.
I went into a pet shop and asked if I could buy a goldfish. The bloke asked if I wanted an aquarium. I said, I don't care what star sign it is.
Oh my God. Right, I'll give you a 3 out of 5.
My mate's in love with 2 school bags. He's bisexual.
That's at least a 4. I'll go with a 4.
Yeah, they're getting better.
I phoned the local gym and asked if they could teach me the splits. He said, well, how flexible are you? I said, I can't make Tuesdays or Thursdays.
These are full-on dad jokes the whole way
I'm going to
through.
say that was a 3. I feel like we're falling down a little bit there.
I told my wife I had a job at the bowling alley. 10 pin, she said. No, it's permanent.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, that's the best one so far. Yeah, definitely.
My sister works for British Gas. Do you want to meet her?
That's so bad. Yeah, that's actually a very clever joke.
That took me a minute to get. I was like, there we go.
All right, I've got one. I've got one more for you. I'll finish to wrap this up. Okay, 668, the neighbour of the beast. So all credit for those go to Bob Mortimer. He's just an absolute funny fish. So yeah.
Do you guys want to hear my favourite joke?
Yeah, go on.
A man walks into a bar. Ouch. But a dyslexic man walks into a bra.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Right, let's go into the hot topic with Richard.
Right, Rich, I hear, because we've got Easter coming up, and we know that beer companies like to experiment, and they like to do things that are a bit out of the ordinary, especially when it comes to seasonal things like, holidays. But what is this about an egg and a beer?
As you guys remember, I rang both of you quite excitedly. I think it was the middle of last week at some point. In fact, it was the 8th last week at about like 10:52 or something like that.
10:58.
10:58.
I know it's exactly because I got very annoyed.
At 10:58, I rang you very, very excitedly that Goose Island were releasing a limited edition beer, which was a stout beer combined with cream egg, so a Cadbury's cream egg. And I was like, you know what? We need to get hold of these because we need to review it on the podcast. And I was like, I looked and it was coming online at 11 o'clock. And I was like, right, I've got no time. I need to ring the boys because you can only buy 2 at a time. They need to get on this sort of thing. So I managed to get through to Simo, and then I think I got through to Joe a little bit later sort of thing. But come 11 o'clock, I was sitting there staring at the computer, clicking refresh. And I was on the page at 11 o'clock, hit by, they'd all sold out. I was on the page at 11, they had all sold out, and so we weren't able to get any.
What I was devastated as well is because I got very excited when Drabble told me, and I was like, this is going to be so epic. This is going to be so cool. And I shouldn't say cool, but I was really excited. And then when you told me, I was like, this is impossible. I was even on there at 11:01. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I went on the website. They only made 5,000 cans. So I was like, that's such a lost opportunity for me. Maybe it was just too difficult to make. I don't know.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, we're seeing that more and more in the craft beer industry, or in the beer industry as a whole, of, these real limited short batches, limited releases. It's like what the trainer industry do. You can get, Supreme, for example, is a fantastic example. They do collaborations with a load of different companies, and they have such limited batch. Maybe they only have like 1,000 or 100 or whatever it is, that number made, that you have people queuing, like when you could queue safely, round the block just to get this limited release. And it builds such a buzz. And I think Goose Island are taking a leaf out of that book. I mean, doing a collaboration with chocolate giant, that is Cadbury, especially, is phenomenal. Now, what I love about this story, though, is that if you need to know about where the location of Goose Island is. So Goose Island the brewery is located right next door to Mars. So the fact that they did a collaboration with a direct competitor of Mars, like in Cadbury, you have to kind of wonder, why not with a Mars? Like, we'd just eat a Mars bar chocolate, beer, wouldn't we? But, the fact that they chose to go for a Creme egg beer is interesting.
I mean, I really liked it as well, because it kind of was linking to the UK as well from where we're from. Because obviously I remember the Cadbury's factory and you could go around. It was only like 30 minutes from us. And I remember you could go on school tours and trips, and you could get loads of free chocolate and stuff. Yes, John.
I was just thinking of the last time I went to the Cadbury's World factory and had quite an embarrassing incident. I don't know if any of you boys remember.
Yeah, I do remember it. Yes, yeah. But I would love you to retell this story to the listeners.
We were I can't remember, but maybe year 8, maybe year 9, 13, 14, and of course we got really excited when we could go and play on the Cadbury's World Park.
And by park, it's a play park. This is a children's park outside.
And I remember jumping onto the park and jumping over something, but successfully ripped my trousers, and I mean ripped from top to bottom. I mean, it wasn't a small rip. It was you could see everything sort of thing. It was embarrassing.
Rich, I kind of feel like it might have been in front of a girl that you were trying to impress at the time, right?
I love that the Joe just like really sticks in the knife right at the end.
Yeah.
Just absolutely brutal.
Oh, it was in front of a girl that I had a little bit of a crush on. Crush. Yeah. That was it. Was it high school or high school romance?
But, I do think I hope to be able to do one of those kind of amazing, kind of unique experience of beer tasting in the future. You can't get more unlucky than being on the website ready to go and then not be able to get it. But I just think, do you think they didn't think it would be as big as they thought it was? Or do you think they purposely made it so small?
I think they purposely made it so small to create that buzz. And, there's going to be, you generate buzz by people having the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So the fact that you've got only 1,000 of these cans that have gone out and gone live, there's only going to be a select few people who are going to get them and receive them. And so if you wanted it, like us, you'll then go and find out, well, who did get them and what do they feel about it? What do they taste it? So yeah, I think we could see a lot more of that from breweries going forward. It's not a new concept as a whole. A lot of, as I said, a lot of other industries are doing this, like tried and tested technique of generating, buzz. And that's what it is nowadays, isn't it? If you can create something that goes viral on social media or is talked about and the majority of people who are talking about it haven't actually experienced the product, then, that's just the world we're living in right now. That, it's not about democratizing experiences. It's about giving the select few the experiences and then actually being able to share that with, the world.
And I guess the good thing about it as well is it gets the company name out as being that kind of interesting company that's willing to not break the rules, but do something different, which makes you want to invest in their beers and have a taste of their normal selection.
Well, as we said before, Goose Island, when we did our whole Goose Island episode, they are so on point with their, branding and what they're doing for their brand that It's just collaboration, but it just makes a lot of sense. And the way that they're taking the supreme clothing approach to their brand, and that they're doing limited releases and they're, generating this buzz and, with high profile collaborations. I mean, this just that's where the beer industry is going to go, because that's where popular culture's gone.
All right, then. So to kind of round this up, sort of thing, I've got a question for both of you. What would you like to see a blend of, sort of thing? So we've had the cream egg and stuff like that. What do you want to see combined to make a beer?
Can I tell you something I saw earlier today on this topic? What do you guys think to Marmite Cornettos?
I don't like Marmite.
Well, as my motto with most things is, I try everything once, but I don't think I want to try that.
You can go and buy Marmite Cornettos now. They've literally been created by Unilever and Wolves. They've made Marmite Cornettos. They've collaborated together on that one. So that is something quite literally out there right now that you can go and try. Beer wise,
I'm trying to think of something really random that I think would be really, in my head randomly. I just instantly thought of Haribo Tang Fastics in a lager.
Yeah, that's Haribo lagers. Yeah, Haribo beers.
It would be like a weirdly sweet.
Would be the brewery who'd make that with you? Which lager would you prefer them to have? I could see Camden and Haribo doing a collaboration with that one.
I was just about to say Camden.
Yeah, Camden.
I was like, I reckon that's it. But we kind of already have that when you have the cherry sour beer that's already out there on the market, which is I really, really like. And I think we'll definitely have to review a cherry sour beer soon, because there are some nice ones.
Plus, you can get ice cream beers as well. You get ice cream flavoured beers. That's not a new concept. I feel like the brewing industry has tried the vast majority of these things. I mean, chocolate beers is nothing new, but the fact that it was a Cadbury's cream egg is the reason why it's new. So it has to be matched with the brand.
What's the really fancy chocolates that you get that are that you get? You have to unwrap them loads and they come in a nice tray.
Ferrero Rocher.
Okay, yeah.
Ferrero Rocher and Birra Moretti.
Ooh,
Italians together. Let's put them together.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Ferrero Rocher, Birra Moretti. We can see that. That is like a Cadbury's. But actually, it's surprising that Goose Island and Cadbury's did that, because if, different countries and stuff. But
Cadbury's is worldwide. Cadbury's is...
That is true.
Like, for instance, I remember talking to Miranda about Cadbury's, and she just thought, she didn't realise it was a British company, because they've got, obviously, the buildings that make chocolate. I've forgotten the word for it.
Factories?
Thank you. The factories that make the chocolate in Australia. And
the buildings that make chocolate. Like Willy Wonka's.
And they just thought it was Australian, because it was just it's not known as just being British.
I've got something quite interesting that I've just remembered. So Bourneville, which was the founder of Cadbury's and created it and everything like that. Bourneville in Birmingham, he built it all as a dry area, so there's no alcohol was to be consumed or drunk in the Bourneville area.
It's within a mile radius of the factory.
And the Tesco there is one of the only Tesco's in the UK that doesn't serve any alcohol inside that area, and the law's been kept. So it's just interesting that Cadbury's have given permission and combined to make a stout. Seems that was a big that was a big thing.
So Bourneville was a Quaker, or is a Quaker, I should say, who started up Cadbury's, and the whole thing is, with Quakers is they don't drink alcohol, and so as you're absolutely right, Rich, in that they created a mile perimeter around the factory where you couldn't get alcohol, and so there is in Birmingham, it's a local legend, you can do the Bourneville Mile, which is a ring of pubs a mile away that rings all the way around the factory, the Cadbury's factory of pubs, and you can do that mile. This, I don't know, like 23 pubs or something, where you just you go all the way around. They ring it, so you never come within a mile of the factory, but because they're all situated around that ring.
Huh.
How intriguing is it that the company's doing a beer?
Well, companies move on, don't they? I mean, they're not built on Quaker principles anymore, obviously, and they're a long way away from those days.
But I mean, it's the first time I've heard of... When have Cadbury's ever done anything like this before?
Yeah, they do loads of collaborations, with not
beer?
With beer. Beer is the first one I'm hearing about.
That's what I meant, yeah.
But they do a lot of... I mean, this is the whole thing about branding in general, in that collaborations spark new lease of life onto brands, and they do limited editions like this.
Well, I think this is a perfect time, fellas, to get cracking into the Pursuit of Hoppiness.
Why are you doing these weird segments into segment setups? I noticed it in the last couple of episodes. Like you just said this.
Because it's been really easy to edit. No, actually, it was Drabwell that does them. It wasn't me. It's Drabwell that does them, and I think I've just subconsciously done.
There was one where it was like we just got into a topic, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, hang on." And what about the Pursuit of Hoppiness? Like, so, we're in it. What are you doing?
Oh, I think that's probably when I was thinking as an editor that I wanted to just put it in so I could put the music over the top. Probably.
So this week we're going to be talking about Freedom Brewery. Now, Freedom Brewery started in 1995. It started in Fulham, London. Now, who else have we talked about recently that started in Fulham, London?
Camden? It's not. No, that's in Camden.
It's an Indian-inspired beer.
Oh, Jaipur.
Oh, Jaipur.
What? Cobra.
Oh!
God, you guys need to go back through the archives and listen to our episodes, honestly.
So, not Camden.
No, not Camden, not Jaipur, who aren't situated in London at all.
You said Indian-inspired.
Yes, Cobra.
Yeah, Jaipur.
We're moving past that. Honestly, I thought that was a nice seamless transition. Freedom Brewery are no longer in London anymore because they need bigger premises, but they moved out to where, Simo?
Berkshire.
Abbots Bromley, Staffordshire.
Oh, what? I've read the can completely wrong. What an absolute wally. For some reason, I just wanted it to be Berkshire. That's so ridiculous.
You two need to start firing on all cylinders, honestly. I need to start, setting you up is going to be a massive fail, right?
Okay, Joe, do it again.
I can do this podcast by myself, but it's really hard.
Joe, do it again. I'm ready. I'm ready for you now. Go.
So Freedom Brewery aren't in London anymore because they grew out of their premises in Fulham. So but where are they right now, Simo?
I believe that they went to Staffordshire, Joe. Is that correct?
Yeah, specifically Abbots Bromley.
Oh! Well, I dare say.
Oh, God. We didn't have to rehearse that because Simo got the place wrong, that's for sure. So what I'm finding interesting is a relatively, it's been around since the mid-90s, but, I've only just found out about Freedom Brewery. This is not a company that's been on my radar for very long. But I'm loving the fact that they're all about lager. We know about, how Camden have done their work with lager to try and reinvent or change the perception of lager. But this company, all they make is lager versions. So they have a lager, they have a Hells, they have a Pils, and they have a Pale. And they also do collaborations, which is one of the beers we're going to try, which is an Indian Pale Lager, which I must say, I've never heard of an IPL before. So, Simo, I wonder if you could maybe help us break down a little bit between what is the difference between these Hells, the Pils, and the Pales.
A Pilsner is a lager with a strong hop flavour. And it originated in a place called Pilsen. I'm going to probably say that wrong, in the Czech Republic. That is like 1842, a long time ago. Hells is, again, a very traditional lager that kind of got pushed to the side. Now, I've got some interesting things that I've kind of read and found out for it. And they said that Hells kind of fell away from Pilsner. And they say that this is probably perhaps that Pilsner was a more marketable word. So the Bavarian Hells differs from the Pilsner by being less bitter, but also lighter and more crisp. So when you have a Hells lager, you should be getting more honey and brioche from the malt. That's nice.
I love brioche.
Yeah, and a lightning quick, grassy finish from the hops, which sounds absolutely incredible.
Have you guys ever eaten grass?
Maybe by accident.
It's not great.
Sorry, hang on. What? Did you just ask, have you guys ever eaten grass?
Yeah, it's not great, in all honesty.
No, I do. So, no, hang on. I do remember you going through a grass diet, at one point. So,
I was vegetarian for a long time.
So, just to go with a Pilsner, okay, just to keep going. Obviously, everyone knows what Pilsner, as in everyone's heard of Pilsner. Well, I think so, and it's kind of very, very well renowned. It is full-bodied, loaded with caramel notes and a robust bitterness. So that's the difference between those two. So basically, a Pilsner is Czech Republic, whilst a Hells is more Germanic.
I have a Kolsch to try, and I think what's interesting about this, having done a little bit of research about a Kolsch, is A Kolsch, I'll give you the definition about what is a Kolsch. So a Kolsch is has a strange fermentation process. It's fermented a touch warmer than alt beer, which is another type of style of German beer. So the yeast produce delicate, mild, fruity flavor profile. So you'll probably find that it's quite spicy. There's a little bit of kind of like kind of assertive hop profile that kind of comes through with it. But Kolsch as a name is unusual because it's actually protected by the European Union. So you can only actually call your beer in this kind of like lager umbrella term a Kolsch if you are one of the breweries that's in the city of Cologne.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why you will see on this Freedom pack, it's a Kolsch style lager. So you can't actually call it a Kolsch lager, it's a Kolsch style lager. So that's very similar to the whole Chobani, we talked about it before about you can't have Greek yogurt if it's not from Greece, you can't have, champagne if it's not from the Champagne region.
Blue Moon, wasn't it?
Blue Moon, well, although they have obviously licensed to say it's a Belgian white. But yes, exactly that point. And, this is a trades act or a protectionist act over, taking away what's probably a well-known term or a mark of quality from a specific region and area and then exporting it. So that's quite interesting. And Kolsch style lager, and the fact that they're trying to call this or saying that this should be quite herbal, it could be quite spicy with the hops. I'm getting a lot of fruit with this. This is kind of gets a very clean finish. It gets a very kind of lager, but German styled lager finish in my mind. So that's very true to that Kolsch description.
I'm not really getting the spice though coming through it. I'm not like that was described. It is tasty, and I think the Kolsch style is good, but I'm not getting like a spicy hit from this particular one.
It's Kolsch.
Kolsch.
I think you added a T in there.
I do want to say that I actually really like these beers. Lagers, sorry. I really like them, and I think they're quite subtle in their flavour. I don't think I wouldn't say it's like a knock your block off, like it's not gonna like astound you, but it's just a really nice, easy drinking lager. So the Kolsch, so far, this is the first one I've ever had, I approve of it. And I think that it's actually making me want to see if there's any more Kolsches that I can get hold of, because it's just so tasty. So
what's quite interesting about this is you won't actually find the beers that we're trying now. You won't find them on the Freedom website, because they have been brewed like for a lot of for most of the beers we've got for the next load of our recordings we got through Flavorly. So they've joined partnerships. So you know how some breweries join together to create a beer. These beers have been created specifically for Flavorly to give out in their boxes and to sell. So that's quite interesting.
I mean, what do you think of the cans? I love talking about the cans, guys. So I'm just going for it. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it.
I'm so pleased everyone always jumps into the design side, because my brain goes, I should know a lot more about this than I actually do. Well,
as in, like, I like the simplicity of it. I mean, maybe it's simplistic because it's with Flavorly and they haven't overly thought about it. I don't know. But I like the simplicity.
Freedom's brand mark is this star. It kind of looks like a bit like a North Star, like maybe even a Star of David looking star.
6-point star, yeah.
That's obviously got quite prominence on the pack about it. What I'm interested by this Flavorly, and this is a kind of endorsed by Flavorly, or it's made specifically with Flavorly in mind, so you've got the Flavorly logo. Anyone that doesn't know, Flavorly is like a beer subscription company, a bit similar to Beer 52 or Beer Hawk, where you can sign up and they can give you different beers. I quite am intrigued by this, is that they've decided with this that they've only done text on one half of the star for these Flavorly cans, whereas on the bottles that I can see on the website, it's kind of they've used a roundel around the star, and then they've got extra text. So I wonder why they've decided to only use the side, because my eye gets a bit tricked by this, if I'm honest. It's a bit hard to read the text, even though the text is very bold. I've got the Freedom IPL written up here, holding up here, and I've got the Freedom Kolsch written, and the word Kolsch is written backwards, to how you read Freedom from the Kolsch itself. So they've done a bit of a weird, funky, design aesthetic over actually how do you read this text right now. And I'm finding that my brain's a bit confused with what I'm looking at.
I can see exactly where you're coming from, Joe. I hadn't really looked at the design in that much in kind of like with anything. But yeah, it is difficult to read. I'm not the biggest fan of what they've done and the way they've gone about it.
I mean, I do like I don't know what it is, but when you use black and then you put things on top of black, I've always liked that. I just think it does make it stand out.
Well, no, it does. I mean, if you have black as a backdrop, that makes anything that you put on top, especially if it's white, what they've done with a lot of their text, with all their text is white, but any white and any colour that you put on there is going to naturally pop against it, as long as you pick, because anything and everything contrasts with black, unless you're using like pale colours.
Well, this one's a purple one, Joe, but you've got the IPL, which I'm intrigued about.
Well, I've got both, and purple and black go really well. Orange and black, obviously, with the orange, it's kind of more of a coppery orange they've chosen as well. And obviously, we're looking at cans, so they've got that metallic kind of feel and finish to them. But yeah, the IPL is interesting. It's a 4%. I'm expecting with an IPL. And Rich, do you have a bit more about what an IPL is?
So yeah, I had never heard of an IPL either. So an Indian pale lager, which is an interesting statement. But from reading up at it, it goes on their can, it's an unholy alliance of beer styles that brings out the best of both worlds. The crisp, refreshing flavours of lager combined with the distinctive character of an IPA, expressed bright and balanced. So obviously they're trying to combine both things, which I think personally they've done quite well. It's not overpowered by either one. They've got a nice blend.
Yeah, I think taste-wise, the taste profile is very tasty. It does feel like it's a lighter IPA. Okay. I mean, Indian Pale Ale that everyone knows and loves, and there's so many different variations of. But it's kind of like a smoother version of an IPA, because it is obviously that lager form and that lager finish.
No, I was just going to actually ask you boys, like you've got both the IPL and you've got the Kolsch. Which one would you think is more? Like, is better or more of a session ale, a beer, or what would you think?
So they've got different taste profiles, and this is why I love this company is all about the lagers, or the lager umbrella, environment, because you've got a Kolsch and you've got an IPL, and they are both from the lager family, and yet taste very differently, and how you should treat them is very differently as well. So the Kolsch was very clean, it's very crisp, felt very like a German Weiss beer in that sense, and again, it's an alt beer. To my brain, I just lump everything into a German-style wheat beer, but that's not the case, obviously. But the Kolsch was very clean and crisp in the taste palette, whereas the IPL, although it's still a lager, so it's on the crisp setting, it had a lot more flavour to it, and the flavour profile, was very different. It felt more hoppy. It felt more like it had that kind of like kick to it that you would expect with an IPA, although this is obviously a 4% lager. So that is in itself, like, Freedom are doing justice to the breadth and the depth that lager actually has, in that all they do is lagers, and yet you can have such seriously different flavour profiles within their products.
Just thought it was really nice to see a resurgence in lager. Like we've had for so many years when we were growing up, there was just the same thing we were drinking, and they all had a very similar sort of taste. But in the past, since we've started doing this podcast, and since we've started to dive into the different kinds of lager, it is fantastic to see that lager is coming back, and it is something that I want to kind of investigate more and try different ones of, instead of just kind of sticking to the ones that I know, or going straight for an ale, which I know I'm going to like.
It does seem like lager's making resurgence, doesn't it? It does feel like there are new lager offerings on the table, but there are also those lager offerings that have been around for a long time that continue to be popular. So it wasn't that long ago where we found that the two biggest selling beer drinks in the UK market were two lagers, Foster's and Carling.
I think what you can get, it's not a dangerous habit, because obviously craft beers are very nice, but I think because there's such a variety and there's such a boom with craft, you can kind of forget lagers. And I think I suppose you could say it's sad, because as we've just found out, we've had this what to us is fairly unknown beer that we've really enjoyed. So
what I think we go back to, we'll kind of close up on Freedom, because obviously their collaborations are, how we got introduced to them is their collaboration with Flavorly. You can buy Freedom beers without collaboration as well. But you go onto their Instagram and you can just see all the different collaborations there are. They're currently running a collaboration with a French brewery, where they have a whole range of beer. They have a new beer that's called Etente Cordial, and that's in collaboration with Blue Coast Brewery in France. And then they just have so many more as well. We're going through. We won't go list them all out because obviously there's collaborations come and go with different companies. But what I'm finding really interesting about this company is obviously they've been around since 1995, but what they stay up with their kind of charter of who they are as a company is about their sustainability. There are three core words that they call themselves. What I would say their kind of value, their values. Independent. So they've been brewing their way for 25 years without compromise. Natural. They've been naturally carbonated and long matured for fuller flavour, and sustainable, all wastewater naturally filtered on site. So the fact that those are those are three words that are imprinted on their cans and as part of their brand, and actually all of their products are, have the Soil Association organic stamp or mark, which is things that you have to go through a certain level of things to tick boxes, and then you can get this achievement. They have the Sustainable Restaurant Association mark as well. They're also vegan, so they've hit the vegan mark, and they are assured independent by the British Craft Brewer Association.
Just to top what you were saying about their sustainability, they've also got the CIBA Green Business of the Year Award in 2016, which is the Society of Independent Brewers Association. So they're obviously being, like, as you said, they're actually adhering to the three things that they have slapping on their cans. So that's pretty cool.
And very proud by the fact that they're independent and not going to be a big company or engulfed by a big company anytime soon. I think that's really refreshing to hear, right? There's a company that has this thing. Numbers wise, on Instagram, they have 11.2k followers. And on Twitter, they have 9.5k followers. So I think to kind of sum up Freedom Brewery, so they've been around for 25 years at the moment, but this is a newish company that we haven't been familiar with. And I think it's because their collaboration that they've been working on with other people has started to get them out there a little bit more. I just think if you're listening, Freedom Brewery, keep doing what you're doing. You've obviously got an amazing proposition by being all about lager and championing the changing of perceptions of lager. And I can honestly say from the two that we've tried today, they are distinctly different. So if you've ruled out lager in the past, I would definitely try and revisit lager through Freedom Brewery.
Boom. Good ending, Joe.
And that's all we have time for from this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.